Now, staying with that story, minibus taxis in Germiston on the East Rand might have returned back to the road to ferry commuters, but the National Taxi Alliance insists that a formal discussion with Gauteng Transport Department and the bus service sector must be convened as a matter of urgency. Now, for more on this discussion, we're now joined by National Taxi Alliance spokesperson Theo Malele. Mr. Malele, thank you so much for joining us this evening. As you were listening in on that insert, that strike that you embarked on had a terrible effect on commuters who desperately rely on you and were left stranded unexpectedly. Why did you choose to express your grievances in this manner?
Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers at home. First and foremost, let's profusely say sorry to the community masses. You know, we apologize for the inconveniences that were caused as a result of our activity. Well, the situation turned out to what it was, you know, given what was happening on the ground. Well, we are being characterized by violence as an industry, one should concede. But in all our sittings, we've never had violence as part of our agenda. Instead, there is always, an advocacy to dialogue in trying to resolve, our challenges. But I must also concede that we haven't, stretched as far and wide to ensure that all taxi operators understand that principle of dialogue and resolving, differences through dialogue.
Why do you think that is? Because that has been pretty much the narrative and the stigma around the taxi industry for a while now. This isn't the first time that there have been, grievances regarding whether it's the e-hailing sector or it's the bus sector over routes. Why hasn't the associations been able to translate that kind of dialogue approach that you have in your meetings to be also for your members on the ground when they are engaging in such activities as well? I mean, some bus drivers were being chased away as well and being hurled at with insults.
You know, if you engage the taxi industry's leadership, you would realize that, the atmosphere or even, the manner in which we communicate, it's different from, members on the ground. But, it's going to take time for us to teach everybody. We must appreciate the background that we come from as a country, that not all, taxi operators has had an opportunity to imbibe on knowing other stuff other than what they have been taught at home. So I'm just trying to put it in such a manner that it is understandable and palatable as well to all and sundry. We are going to work on this. The industry's leadership always advocates for dialogue, and we teach people. I mean, you must appreciate that violence has subsided somewhat, internally. It's not the same as it used to be, throughout the years. So there is a bit of improvement. Please do give us a credit where it's due. But yeah, what happened yesterday was just unfortunate, which is why when the leadership came out, the whole thing subsided and the operations were resumed, the very next day, meaning today.
I mean, it's been reported, we're aware that this is obviously over routes, but where did the breakdown happen between yourselves and the Department of Transport in the province? Why wasn't it able to be amicably resolved within those dialogues that you have? How did it get so bad that it reached the state that it did this week?
At times the information does not filter through expeditiously, and at times, the jargon that actually gets used, it is not that is being understood by everybody on the ground, and that jargon then needs to be decoded so that everybody can understand precisely what the intentions are. So that too is a challenge.
With regard to those routes as well, for somebody who's just watching and saying, the taxi industry is saying that these buses are going on our routes, surely you could share a route. Surely people have the right to decide whether they want to be in a minibus taxi or rather take a bus. And of course, you must understand as well that the economy has hit many of us very, very hard, and perhaps maybe them using a bus could be a little bit cheaper. What are you proposing as a solution? Are you saying that commuters should not be able to be making these kinds of decisions of what mode of transport they want to use?
Now, look, you've got to look at this also from the point of view that, the playing fields are not leveled. The majority public transport mover is not getting any form of support, from government side. That too becomes a problem, because now the taxi industry, by virtue of not being as assisted, and then you have people that would compete with it that are heavily subsidized, then the playing fields are never leveled. But I'm also hastening to mention that roads are a shared space, and we actually develop these routes and then nurture them, so that they become lucrative, and passengers know that they are, the corridors that will ferry them from one point to the other for their economic activities.
So do you feel that with all the work that you've put in specifically into these routes, and as you're saying, nurturing them as well, that you should be given the lion's share purely because you're not getting subsidized? What would you then say to one who says it's competition? Now,
look, competition must be fair. So in this regard, this is an unfair competition. It's very much unfair. If you look at the industry, it has been subdued from the days in memoriam during apartheid. And in a democratic dispensation, it is still, not being taken care of. But instead, the very, white corporates and even other big, bus companies are still getting a bigger, stake of the subsidy from government, whereas we too are South Africans. Why are there discriminatory rules within the very same space? Why are we treated as a stepchild of the public transport sector when we are playing such a pivotal role of turning, in about 6.4 billion annual to the fiscus and ferrying 80% of the commuting masses? And we also are able to ferry masses from where there is no development of infrastructure. We basically also create this infrastructure using our own cars that end up being dilapidated and with no support whatsoever. You've got to look at this. You've got to look at this from all angles, not only specifically from an angle of an industry that has been characterized by violence, which is, yes, it's true, it's been characterized by violence, but we're working on that. Hence, I'm saying we've got to be given credit where it's due.
And the pivotal role that you mentioned that you play, that is absolutely correct. You do play a pivotal role. Now, taxi operators are back on the road. Where do we stand with the negotiations? How do we know that in the next week, 2 or month, we won't find ourselves in the same position? Are the talks resuming, and are they going well?
Look, we are serious about talks, and those talks will be, taken care of. And if there is a problem, we will say it. I'll be the first one to send you a statement alerting you of those challenges, so that we can then begin to engage, more meaningful to try and circumvent, further strikes. But we do not anticipate that there'll be such a strike. We have confidence in the political leadership within Gauteng province, under the stewardship of Kidibone Diale Tabela, she is there for the industry, and she is prepared to roll up her sleeves. And for that, I do not see us, going back, but I can only see us progressing positively.
Well, Mr. Malele, thank you so much, and good luck with those talks moving forward.